Hello, welcome back. Welcome back to the automobile lectures. Now, today we'll discuss the learning, we'll discuss the gearbox. The learning outcomes are construction and working of gearbox, and the second learning outcome is to understand the different types of gearbox. Now, first of all, let us see why we need a gearbox. We need a gearbox to vary the torque. Again, the question arises why we want to vary the torque, because there are so many resistances acting on the vehicle, and those you need to overcome those resistances. That's why we need a gearbox gives you a variable torque. Whatever the power develop in the engine, we are taking it in step by step manner. That's why we need a gearbox. Now, what are the functions of this transmission of this gearbox? To provide a means to vary the leverage or torque ratio between the engine and the road wheel as required. Engine and the road wheel, whatever, because what is the ultimate aim of the power development is to move the vehicle. So the function of the transmission is to provide a means to vary the leverage or the torque ratio between the engine and the road wheel as required. To provide a neutral position. Always you during stopping, you cannot stop the engine, or you cannot switch off the engine. So there must be a provision to stop the vehicle with running when engine is running. So that provision is the neutral position. Neutral gear must be there, and a means to back the car. So it is also a means, or it is also a provision to reverse the car. Now, what are the resistance that needs to be overcome? The resistances are resistance due to wind. As the vehicle moves forward, there is a resistance to the opposed by the wind. You can observe in this figure that the here air resistance is shown. So wind resistance. Second, resistance due to gradient. Resistance due to gradient. You can observe in here due to gradient. What is gradient? Gradient is nothing but a slope. It is slope. Now in the second figure you can observe that there is a payload is in the vehicle, and the vehicle is pulling this load on the gradient. So we need a torque at this wheel such that it must carry this all the load along this gradient. So that's why we need a gearbox. And the third is the type of road or the friction. Miscellaneous resistances, say tire are not good, so slippery tire, so we need to overcome this resistance. If the tires are not good, we have to shift the gear from second to first, because they are slippery road. If the roads are not good, they are not of the good quality, then also we have to shift the gears from one higher level. So these are the resistances offered during the movement. Now the major resistance is of tractive resistance. Now what is tractive resistance? Resistance due to starting. Tractive resistance is the resistance due to starting, because the vehicle load is there. Now you need such a power which will move your vehicle, that movement, the movement at which the vehicle will start, is the neutral moment, where your tractive resistance will be zero and the movement will start. Otherwise, if the tractive resistance will be there, your vehicle will not start. Suppose, take an example that if a loaded truck is there like this, and if you are pulling it with your two-wheeler, this vehicle will not move, because the load is more and your engine power is less. But with this vehicle, the vehicle is designed in such a way that the power on develop on this engine will be able to minimize or to overcome the tractive resistance. Now what is tractive resistance? Due to the starting. Resistance due to the starting. Now various varies according the type of the object. Here it is for locomotive, it is 0.15 W1. Now what is W1? W1 is the weight of the locomotive in tons, because the railway is having a more load. Where the vehicles, if the small vehicles are there, then it is W2. W2 is the weight of the vehicle in tons, weight of the vehicle in tons. So tractive, in a simple language, you just remember that tractive resistance is the resistance to movement, resistance to movement, that is the wheel resistance. It is the friction between tire and road. It is the friction between tire and road. So here one graph is shown where tractive effort and total resistance, what are the total resistance due to wind, resistance due to gradient, or miscellaneous resistance. So tractive effort is the, that it is bound to there, because every vehicle has to move and there is a traction between the tire and the road. So tractive effort is there. So tractive effort plus total resistance against speed. Now here different resistances are shown. So this is the first resistance, which is lower, second higher, third and fourth. This green line shows the resistances, means different vehicle having different resistance, different vehicle having different resistances. Now these black curves are showing the gearbox means the what we can say, torque variable, torque variation box. So in the first gear, this much load can be overcome. This much load can be, oh, this is the very high load. This graph shows very high load. But in the first gear, you can overcome this load also. But the speed is very less. The speed is very, it can overcome your heavy load, but the speed, you cannot increase the speed. The speed declines. If you start moving your vehicle in a first gear, after some time the speed of the vehicle will not increase, it declines. In the second gear, it can carry some less load than the first gear, some less tractive effort and total resistance than the first gear, but it can carry the load, but the speed also somewhat greater than the first gear. But in third gear, it cannot carry a load, it will carry less load, it will carry less resistance, it will overcome less resistance than the first and second gear, but the speed is more. If you take again fourth gear can only give you this much, it can only overcome this much resistance, but the speed will be more. Like that, if you vary the gears, the first gear can carry a maximum load but less speed. The second gear can carry that somewhat less load than the first gear, but the speed of the vehicle will somewhat greater than the first gear. In third gear, speed will be there, but load carrying capacity means torque variation will be there. Whenever you need to start your vehicle from the zero, you need to operate the first gear, because first gear having a maximum capacity to overcome the load, but the speed is less. So like that, the variation can be made. So this can be done with the help of number of teeths. If the number of teeths on the gear vary, then the torque ratio can be vary. Now what are the types of transmission? Manual transmission, sliding mesh type and synchro mesh type. These are the three main types of transmissions available right now. Manual transmission, sliding. Now out of this manual transmission means it is a simple transmission wherein we are sliding the gears. See, these are the shafts. Now keep in mind three things. One, this is the input shaft. This is the input which is connected to your clutch. After clutch, this is gearbox. This is the input shaft. This is output shaft. This is called main shaft. This is output shaft. And this is the lay shaft. This is the lay shaft on which only gears are. This only varies your torque. This shaft is only useful for varying the torque. So there are three shafts. One is clutch shaft, that is main shaft, clutch shaft. Then this is main shaft and lay shaft. So clutch shaft, main shaft, lay shaft. In every gearbox you will find these three shafts. One is clutch shaft, main shaft and lay shaft. Now here main shaft is of spline type. Spline means some linings are there, and these gears are fitted on this spline so that the gears can be moved from one place to another. This is manual type. This is sliding. So gears are slide from one place to another. Now you can observe here. Clutch shaft is having clutch gear. This clutch gear is engaged with the lay shaft, so that when clutch gear rotates, the lay shaft uh, gear will rotate, and all these gears are fitted on the lay shaft, so all these gears starts rotating. All these gears start rotating. Now what is this? This is nothing but the reverse gear, because when you engage one gear with the another gear, one rotates clockwise, another would rotate anti-clockwise, so vehicle will move forward. Now when you want to make the reverse gear, you need one clockwise, anti-clockwise, again this will be a clockwise. So this idler gear, this is also called as idler gear. This idler gear is always there in every gearbox to make a reverse gear. This reverse gear. Now whenever there is a first gear, the gear size is very big. Whenever there is a because big gear having a less rpm, can give more torque. Whenever you want to shift the gears in the second, third, the gear size will go on reducing because RPM goes on increasing. Now you can observe here how the gears sliding mesh gear can work. Now here is the clutch shaft. So power transmitted from clutch shaft to lay shaft. Now it goes. Now here it is engaged with the gear. So this may be a first gear. So here first gear, it is first gear, power start. Now this is second gear, how it is shifted. Now here it is shifted. So now see the size. This is big gear, this is small gear. So small gear means second gear. Second gear, the rpm increases, torque carrying capacity reduces. Here third gear, it is directly attached to your clutch shaft, so there is a direct transmission from engine to main shaft. No need, there is no lay shaft in between this. There is a direct connection with the. Now you can observe here third gear direct. This is a three gear box, three gears and one reverse gear, four gears are there. So this is directly connected to your clutch shaft, so direct transmission. Now how reverse gear will work? This from again this to this lay shaft. From lay shaft you can observe here the lay shaft gear, then idler means clockwise, anti-clockwise, again clockwise goes. Now here in this gear it is clockwise, this is anti-clockwise, so vehicle will move forward. If in the anti-clockwise vehicle moves forward, then definitely in the clockwise vehicle moves reverse. So such type of gearbox are used in the earlier vehicles where the sliding mesh, those gearbox are very noisy gearbox, because physically you have to shift the gears and physically you have to engage the gear. Physically you are going to engage the gear. So such type of gearbox are used in the earlier vehicles, or you can observe such type of gearbox in your lathe machine also. In the lathe machine you are stopping the lathe, you are moving your chuck in somewhat manner and you are adjusting the gears, because you need to shift the gear and you need to engage the gears in such a manner that it will transmit the power. So this is about the sliding mesh gearbox. Remaining gearbox will study in the next lecture. Thank you for watching.